Good morning, everyone. I hope that your Christmas season went well and that if you were traveling, that your travels were safe. If you were sick, that you are recovering and that your preparations for the new year are underway. I wanted to bring a conclusion, sort of provide some symmetry for this little series of reflections that I've been doing in Advent. I want to thank those of you who have faithfully followed along as we've read through the first Christmas by Crossan and Borg. And I hope that it was a good experiment for you and maybe even eye-opening about our origin stories that we find in Matthew and Luke. As we round the corner in this thing, I want to ask the question, does it matter? Because I'm preparing to start a series in the new year where we're going to read through the Gospel of Mark together. And we're going to be using a book called Mark for Everyone, which provides some entry-level background stuff to sort of some biblical scholarship. And then we're also going to be pairing it with a trickier book called Binding the Strongman by Ched Meyer, which is a political reading of Mark. And in preparation for that, this series that we've been doing on the first Christmas, focusing on Matthew and Luke, has been really helpful for answering the question, does it matter? Because Mark's gospel, as you may be aware, does not have a Christmas story and has a very different ending than the other gospels, which were written later. Answering the question, does it matter, is easy when it comes to these Christmas stories. I got a text a couple weeks ago. I'm on this interesting text ring where the Methodist clergy in Idaho, we every Sunday morning we get an encouraging message, and it's really cool. But 2 weeks ago, it was asking the question, does it matter? And the statement was made that matters a lot. By attending to how God came into the world, how the divine incarnated, that the word took on flesh, if you will, I want to quote from John. It matters, and that's why attending to the way that God comes into the world, or that the divine manifests in the world, matters. And like I said on Christmas Eve, if you haven't watched that candlelight message, you are a part of the story. The diversity of characters that we see in our Christmas story says that people who are well educated and not well educated, people who have government jobs and people who have low paying jobs, people who have light skin and people who have dark skin, people who live very near and people who live very far away in different countries. For immigrants and refugees, political refugees, and so many men and women, married and single, young and old, we're all a part of the story. That's an incredible thing, to find yourself in the story of the divine being birthed into the world, of God taking on flesh, of manifesting an embodied reality. So it matters. And that's why every Christmas I love attending to the location, the genre, the people, the characters, the politics, the economics of that story, is because it's part of how we find ourselves present day in the story of God's becoming in the world, of the eternal embodiment, the manifesting of the divine in the world. And so, like in Sunday school a couple months ago, we talked about a word, theosis. And even though that's a Greek Orthodox teaching to this day, I think even for us as Protestants, there's a lesson to be learned that the divine participated in humanity fully so that humanity can participate in divinity being embodied. And so for me, the theosis of the Christmas story is a modern day story. So I want to thank those of you who took time to watch these videos, to like or subscribe, and to comment. It meant a lot to me. We'll do it again next year. I'll come up with a more consistent schedule, but I hope that these little reflections have been good, and I'm very excited about what we're up to in the new year, both as a worshiping community with going through the Gospel of Mark and as a congregation that is primarily focused on service and partnering with those doing good in the world in our city and in our community. So I'm really looking forward to the new year, and I hope that you will continue to be a part of this conversation. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, and I will see you in the new year. Happy New Year.